guys, welcome back. So I was looking at my Facebook memories yesterday, and the one that came up for 5 years ago was a photo of when I first painted the tile in my laundry 5 years ago. So I figured that was quite a milestone in terms of tile paint longevity. So I thought I'd do an updated review. I have done two other videos in regard to the tile paint before. The first one was when I was actually painting the laundry. The second one was a 2-year update on both the laundry and the bathroom that I painted a few months after I did the laundry. So in case you haven't watched those already, I have painted the floor tile as well as the wall tiles in both my laundry and sort of main bathroom areas. I've also painted in the bathroom. I also painted floor and walls in the shower. I painted the countertop in the bathroom as well. And I think that's it. So I'll start off by saying as well that I'm not an expert on tile paint. I'm not any kind of painter or, you know, handy person kind of thing. I am just a homeowner that did not like the color of the tiles, and I did not have the budget to retile at that point 5 years ago. I'm coming up to the point now where I'm just about ready to retile the floor. However, it is not because the paint in those areas has sort of worn away or anything. So I'm going to actually show you what the paint looks like. It's probably not that much different to what you saw if you've already watched the 2-year update. It's quite similar actually. I don't think there's any extra chips that I didn't already show in the 2-year update. There's like maybe 3 or 4 between the two different rooms, which is really good. The wall paint is still, you probably couldn't even tell that the tiles were painted on the walls, and the floor has held up really quite well as well. So I thought I would go through a few of the frequently asked questions that I had on my previous tile paint video, just to answer some of those, because there were quite a few that I didn't address in that video. I answered them in the comments, but I didn't actually speak about them. So I'm going to go through those. The one that I got a few times actually was, do I have a dog? So no, I've never had a dog I've never had a dog, but specifically whilst we've had these areas painted in our house. And I do think that had we had a dog, the tile, the wear of the tile might have been a little bit different. So granted, these two areas are, like I said, the laundry and the bathroom, so they're not high traffic areas. And in both rooms, I have floor mats down. So in the laundry, I have sort of a jute, I'll show it to you in a minute, but I have a jute rug down. So when you're walking in there, you are pretty much just walking on that rug. And then in the bathroom, I obviously have, you know, bath mats. So I don't think that a dog simply walking on the tile paint after it's cured for a little while anyway would just chip it or anything like that. I think it would be if a dog was scratching or if the dog was walking on like in a high traffic area, maybe it would wear down a little bit quicker. But I mean, for me, the paint hasn't worn away at all. So yeah, it is definitely something to consider if you do have a dog. Maybe it wouldn't wear as well as what I'm about to show you. But again, if it's not an area that the dog is in, it probably would be fine. And wall tile, I think it would be fine, unless your dog is the type to sort of jump up on a wall and scratch it, maybe not so fine. I think it would be a different outcome if you did have a dog. So definitely something to consider. A couple of people asked me how strong is the smell whilst you are actually painting it. When I was painting the bathroom, I had the window open, but I had the door shut to the bathroom because the kids were asleep in the rooms next to me. I did it at night. And I came out of that room after painting the first coat or something. I came out of the room and I felt high as a kite. Like, I was really dizzy. I felt a bit nauseous. I was really, you know, I felt drunk. So yes, it is a strong smell whilst you're painting if you have not got adequate ventilation. So that was my bad. I don't remember the smell lingering for very long though. My husband is quite sensitive to paint scents and even nail polish he doesn't like, and I don't remember him complaining about how bad the smell was. But certainly, you know, the paint is essentially an epoxy, I believe, which is fairly hardcore in terms of paint. So yeah, there is definitely a smell, but I didn't find that it lingered for too long to the point where anyone in the home was uncomfortable. If that answers your questions. I got asked a few times, is it slippery, particularly that we're in wet areas with it? No, I don't find it any more slippery than regular tile would be, a regular unpainted tile. I mean, we have bath mats down. We don't, you know, you're always careful in the bathroom when there's wet tiles. Like, it's exactly the same, I feel, as tile that you would have, like a shiny tile that you might have in any bathroom or laundry. The kids have never slipped on it, knock on wood. No one's ever slipped on it. It's, yeah, just the same as regular tiles in my opinion. Now, which was the best, White Knight or Rust-Oleum? Should have mentioned. So I used Rust-Oleum paint in the laundry when I did it, and I used White Knight in the bathroom. I imagine these paints have changed, or the products have changed in the past 5 years. When I painted, particularly the laundry, it was a fairly new product to the Australian market anyway. You couldn't at that point tint the paint. I think there was like 3 different colors you could choose from, like a white, a gray, and I can't even remember the third one. I think it was blue. You couldn't tint them, and at that point it was a one coat. There was no primer. It was all included in the one product that you were laying onto the floor. The White Knight at that point, I did that a few months after I did the laundry, and that you could tint. I'm sure that you can tint both brands now to whatever color you like. But the White Knight at that point, you could tint, and you did put a primer down first and then go back the following day and put the actual color down. There was no top coat on either of them. It was just the primer in the White Knight instance, and then the actual color itself. In terms of which is the best, the techniques were slightly different. Both felt like you were painting with glue, like glue that was setting. I got a really sore hand by the end from the resistance of the paintbrush, which is not something that I usually experience when painting. And you had to work quickly, like you only do bits at a time because it would dry or it would set so quickly. I mean, the Rust-Oleum was easier back then because it was a one coat technique, whereas the other one, the White Knight, you had to do 2, so it was more labor intensive. They've worn exactly the same way, but I couldn't tell you one was better than the other at this point. Neither have yellowed. They're both the same color. They're the color that I painted them when I first did it. And granted that my house doesn't get any direct sunlight, so I don't know if the room that you were painting, if it was receiving direct sunlight, perhaps it would yellow at that point. But in my experience, no, neither of them have yellowed. There's chips in both rooms, but they're only very tiny, and even those chips, they haven't spread. Like I was concerned, and they're tiny, like I say, I'll show you in a second, but I was concerned that once there was a chip, it would just start chipping away and that would be it, but it hasn't been the case. So that's really good as well, that even though that it does chip, it kind of is still quite sealed, if that makes sense. Do you need to sand the tiles before you paint, was another question that I was getting. No, not when I did it. I don't know if the products have changed or anything, but for me, both products, when I purchased them, it came with a cleaning agent. It was like a powder that you poured and then you clean. So you really had to scrub the tiles clean. So there was nothing on them, no dirt or any oils or anything like that, but you weren't sanding them, you weren't roughing up the tile or creating texture or anything. It was literally just getting any product up off those tiles, and it was a really good cleaner, to be honest. But that's all you had to do. You didn't have to sand it. It didn't matter that the tiles were shiny. Both of my tiles, one of them was like a gloss tile. In the laundry floor was a gloss tile, and the bathroom, it was a little bit more, it was like a terracotta tile, and it wasn't shiny, but it wasn't completely matte either, but different textures, and it worked the same on both of them. But no, you certainly didn't need to sand the tile before you painted. And another question I got a lot was, how do I clean the tile? So I wouldn't recommend using anything harsh on the paint. I use quite natural products. I use the Method products, and I use Enyo to clean. I do vacuum the tile, and then when I mop it, I'm just using really, like I say, natural products. Generally I'm not using any bleach on the floors or anything like that, nothing abrasive. And they come up fine. So if you're someone that likes to use bleach or anything that's quite abrasive, particularly in the shower, I suppose, again, you might find a different result to how mine have turned out. But I'm quite conscious of this video going on for too long. I get told a lot that I talk too much and my videos are too long. So I'm going to go and take you into the rooms now and show you what the tile looks like, so you can get an actual visual of how they look now. Okay, so we're in the bathroom that my kids used. Clearly. I've taken the mats out, and I've just realized I probably should have cleaned this before I showed you, but also at least you're getting like a real life. This is what it actually looks like in here. Anywho, this is what the floor looks like. And as you can see, the only chips that I have, so this little one that was in the 2-year update, I've actually just noticed there's a tiny little one here. And then this one was also in the 2-year update. And this one was the one I was concerned was gonna spread, but it hasn't. It's pretty much exactly the same. I've also just noticed a tiny little one in the corner over there. You can see it. The wall tiles, you can see, like you can't even tell that they're painted. They're really good. I've had a look around and I can't see any chips on any of the wall tiles, so that's great. Oh, there is, so this chip happened really early on when I'd first painted the tiles. The tile underneath is white, thank goodness, so you can't really see it, and it hasn't really spread. I don't know if I pointed this out in the 2-year update. I'll have to have a look, but that one, yeah, that was just a matter of I hadn't put enough paint on this tile and it hadn't cured enough when obviously it was rubbed. So that was my fault. I also have noticed now that there is a little bit of wear here on this piece of grout, but the rest is just, I just need to clean the bathroom basically. But yeah, it's coming up here, and if I was to pick at that, it would come away. So I guess once the grout has properly chipped, it's gonna do that. So something to consider, but again, I've only just noticed this and it's been 5 years, so. And then the shower. So the walls of the shower, the tile in the shower is actually fiberglass. And that is held up perfectly well. There's no chips on here. It's, yeah, you wouldn't know that it's painted. It's, yeah, held up really, really well. The floor, again, I should have cleaned this. This is actually, most of this, mind you, not most of it actually, but this part here, I didn't use enough paint on the grout, so you really need to be careful when you're painting the grout that you are putting enough paint on, because it can come through. So that's not been worn away, that was I didn't use enough paint. The same sort of thing here. This was the last bit that I did, and I was coming to the end of the paint can, so I was being a little bit more stingy than I should have been. The actual floor of the shower, there's no chips. What you can see around the bottom here is the silicone has done that thing where it turns moldy and black. So really all I need to do there would be to remove the silicone and redo it. The silicone here, this is all fine. So it hasn't chipped off that either. I was a bit concerned it was gonna come off that, but it hasn't. So that's really good. Yeah, really happy with how the shower's going. Okay, I'm sitting in the laundry now, and I'm gonna have to be quite quick because I've just realized I've got to get my kids from school. But there's actually quite a few more chips than I originally realized. I just came down here to have a look at this one because I knew this one was here. And I've noticed a couple more. So, interesting. There's 3 little chips here, and I'm actually wondering, I do have a cat, and it looks like she's been scratching here because the threads come away. And I wonder if this isn't a result of her scratching. So, definitely something to consider. Like I said, it's been 5 years, so I'm not devastated. But there's definitely a couple of scratches that weren't there before. This one was there the entire time. You can see the blue tiles come through underneath. This one has come since the 2-year update. I did realize this one was here, but it hasn't spread. It's been here for a little while actually, but yeah, it hasn't spread. So that's not too bad. I'm happy with that. There's one over here, which is where the cat's food bowl is, and then I wanted to show you, and I did point this out in my last couple of videos actually, but this here, what happened was I had left the door open overnight so that the smell from the paint could, dissipate a bit quicker, and I had this curtain tied up, but it actually fell down during the night and sat in the tile paint. So then when I came in here in the morning and I pulled it up, it had left this mark, which it did bother me at the time. I haven't dwelled on it. It's not been something that's bothered me too much over the years. I had intended on putting like a mat here, but then I ended up with this one, so didn't end up doing that. Anyway, you can see where that happened. The integrity of the paint was compromised because there's a chip here, a couple of chips here, and there's one right over here. So the laundry, as it turns out, not doing quite as well as the bathroom. However, the paint is still white, it hasn't yellowed. The wall tile's pretty good. This here is a result of me not quite nailing the technique at this point. I obviously used too much paint and it started to drip and I didn't notice until it was too late. So something to try and avoid if you can. But yeah, that's where we're at 5 years later. So I think you can see it really has stood the test of time, this tile paint. I've always said since the beginning that it is a temporary solution to, you know, a cosmetic problem that you might have. So I didn't like the blue tiles that I had before. I didn't like the terracotta tiles that I had before. Didn't have the budget to retile, so I painted them. I didn't expect it to last this long, if I'm honest, and I didn't expect to not have retiled by this point. But that's how it's gone, and it's actually turned out okay. Like I said, I'm planning on retiling soon, but that's just, it's nothing to do with the wear of the tile. It's just because I want new tile. If you do have any further questions, please leave them down below. I do my very best to answer what I can. Again, I'm not an expert, so I don't sort of know all the nitty gritty about how everything works, but I can give you my experience and my opinions on anything that you might want to ask. I do hope that you found this video helpful. I hope that it's helped you make a decision about your own tile paint project. I really appreciate you watching this video. Please give me a thumbs up if you did find it helpful. That's always appreciated. If you have any questions, let me know, and I'll talk to you guys next time. Bye.